Welcome back to 411. This is Jennifer Young, and I'm here with my guest, Denny Young. Denny Young, you're a huge fan of travel. Travel's always been a passion of yours, as well as a byproduct of what you do for business. So let's talk a little bit. Let's go on tour with you, actually. Let's talk a little bit about your first time out of the country.
I was in high school, and we did the high school English trip to England, and I just caught kind of the bug. And as long as there's no bugs in my bed, then travel's good.
So wait, let's get this straight. So that's the first time you've ever been out of the country, you said was your senior year.
That's true, but that was 30 years ago.
But let's talk about that. What was it like?
It was amazing, a real eye-opener, seeing different country, different culture, different people, different accents, different music. The one thing that was different then from now is there was no Starbucks outside of the US, there was no McDonald's, it was all things that were indigenous to those territories that you would travel in. And so I think that's one negative of the world we live in today, is that the big brands have kind of gone global.
What was one of your favorite things that you did back in high school when you did travel abroad?
Ooh, we climbed up on a roof and stole a Welsh flag and brought that back to the US. And we're lucky not to get into trouble.
So you were with a group of...
5 of us, and we shimmied up a gutters and onto the roof and a house and took the flag off of it and jumped down and heard a dog bark and ran down the country road.
And you didn't get in trouble?
We didn't get in trouble.
That's a good memory to have.
As a matter of fact, our teacher congratulated us on a successful mission.
Oh my gosh, no wonder why you got that bug back then. And then from there, you also decided back in college, you had an opportunity to go away, and this time for a whole semester.
That's true. I went to Luxembourg, and it's a tiny little country in Central Europe. And the college I went to, Miami University, had a campus in Luxembourg. And I went there in the fall of my junior year. I had an amazing experience learning about European politics and governments and geography and foreign languages and history, and just being immersed in that kind of Monday through Thursday, and then Friday really walking history, going to places like Berlin and Paris and the Normandy, and seeing sites from the Battle of the Bulge, and just really incredible things.
That must have been so cool to be able to do. And then you took those weekend trips with friends, right? So you made...
Well, sometimes with friends, and sometimes they were organized trips with the school. Like I said, you'd be Monday through Thursday learning, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as a school, we would go to a lot of these sites and really see them firsthand.
Have you been back since?
Oh, yeah, 100 times.
Tell me one of your favorite memories from that.
Well, I was traveling with my wife, who you've not met, but at some point hopefully you will. And we went to Vietnam, which was on a bucket list of mine for many, many years. And we were in a village that had been very embracing of the Viet Cong back during the war. And it was called Cu Chi, and they had the tunnel system. You may have heard the term tunnel rats, but the Viet Cong actually fought a war from underground through this tunnel system in the southernmost part of Vietnam. And they would come up through these tunnels and surprise attack the US forces, and then duck back down the tunnels. And for a long time, our guys couldn't figure out where they went and how they just vanished. And then we got wind of this tunnel system, and that created tunnel rats, guys that would go down and actually try and hunt out the Viet Cong soldiers down there. And so my wife and I had the really interesting experience of actually going down in those tunnels and crawling through those tunnels and seeing how these guys lived and treated, injured soldiers and raised families all underground for years.
What did it feel like to be in those tunnels?
Hot and steamy.
How big?
Claustrophobic.
Claustrophobic. How big were they? Like around?
Very small. I mean, you would be crouched down and walking through, the walls would be this close to you on either side. And what made it difficult for our soldiers was we didn't know the tunnel system. So you're kind of coming down a tunnel, and either another tunnel's here and you're not expecting it and you could get nailed, or there would be a drop in the floor that would go down on bamboo spikes. And so our guys really were very courageous that went down into that tunnel system.
So traveling there as an American, did it change your perspective at all? I mean, did you feel any different then for the Vietnamese? once you were there?
I think that the war in their mind is so long ago.
Yeah.
And 70% of the Vietnamese population is under the age of 30, so they weren't even alive during the war.
Right.
They greet Americans with smiles and happy attitudes and welcoming, and many of them aspire to have American items and brands and the culture there. The older people I ran across, no hard feelings. I think there's been a lot of reconciliation. Beautiful people, beautiful country.
So talking about beautiful people in beautiful countries, you've seen a lot of them because going back to after college.
I've seen a lot of beautiful people, especially in places like Brazil and Paris, and yeah, of course.
I know, let's talk about that though, because going back to, you were, after college, you got a job, you and a friend had a great jobs, and you decided to leave those fantastic jobs to travel around the world. So backpacking, just picked up and went.
So we did that.
What happened?
It was crazy, and the story started, he and I both went to Miami, and we were down there one night. I don't know if I can say this on air, but drinking a lot more than we should have. And we made a pact that night that we were going to quit our jobs and take all the money we had saved up and travel around the world, and we did it.
What did your parents say?
And we came back with not a dime to our name.
Oh my gosh.
My parents thought I had lost my mind.
Yeah.
Thought I was crazy.
I get
How
that.
do you leave a job in a profession that you're excited about with a company that is well known and quit it and pack a little backpack with 3 pair of pants and 3 pair of underwear and 1 pair of shoes and go around the world for 6 months?
I mean, it sounds fun. We all want to do it, but the fact you did it is amazing. So what did you do? Where did you go?
We started at Pearl Harbor.
Wow.
So there's this little a trend you see with war zones.
Yeah.
And then made our way through the South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, Asia. Wound our way back through Europe and home.
And you said you hardly had any money, so how did you?
I had money when I left.
Right.
And I spent it all while I was gone. Had nothing when I returned.
But no regrets, right?
No.
So what were some of your favorite memories there?
I mean, there's so many. I mean, just the people that you meet. I think for us, being in China, and this was in 1992, so not even 3 years after Tiananmen Square, I was in Beijing at Tiananmen Square, and just kind of talking to young students and people my age, and they, would be really open with what had happened and the atrocities that occurred, and, certainly a lot of tear-jerking moments. But these are just people like us, and they just want to be, free and be able to say what they want and to pursue a life and raise a family. And, we have this, I think, this feeling in our country, at least when I was growing up, it's, I think, different now. It was East versus West. It was communist versus non-communist. It was good versus evil. But these people aren't evil. And that's, I think, one of the best things I learned.
So you had this preconceived notion at the beginning?
I was scared, actually.
Yeah?
Was scared going into some of these countries. China for sure was intimidating coming into. But then, going into Indonesia, where on the immigration card where you have to fill out, and when you show your passport and everything and you're coming in, and on the immigration card it says transporting narcotics in country is punishable by death.
Oof.
And not that I would do that,
no.
But the fact that here it's bad and you can get in big trouble, there it's punishable by death. And you always have that nightmare that somebody has slipped something in your bag, and all of a sudden you'll be, well, that's not mine, and they've made movies about that.
Right.
So that was a little intimidating.
And even you see in the news today, I mean, there are things that can happen and do happen to American tourists abroad.
Yeah, you had the woman in Turkey that was brutally raped and murdered. You have people at the pyramids in Egypt that have been shot and killed. You've had, the woman in Italy that was accused of murder that went on trial and was stuck in an Italian jail for a year, then let off. I mean, those laws and rules are those countries. And we don't want anybody telling us how to run our country. They don't want anybody telling them how to run their country.
Exactly. It makes a lot of sense. And so when you came back, you guys were able to land jobs, both of you, in international companies that called
That is correct.
For a lot of business travel.
And so that trip and the trips preceding that big trip really created an environment for me to not be intimidated in international settings anymore, to be able to go places meet with people, have an understanding of their culture, both historical culture and business culture, and be able to speak to them on their terms and with their interests at hand.
And that's a great skill to be able to have. That's everything fed
Still
in.
putting it to use today.
Absolutely. So what's some of the craziest trips or some of the best trips that you took, a place that you were really proud that you went to?
I think Vietnam, I was really enthusiastic to be there, and I've been there more than once.
And as a business trip?
No, I've never been there as a business trip, just pure pleasure. And going to Machu Picchu was an amazing trip. I did that with my wife as well.
So unfortunately, we need to wrap this up right now, but I think that this is a great message to put out to people that travel is a great way to see the world, and also if you get that chance to even take the risk to travel around the world, take that risk.
There's a crazy stat that like next to no Americans have passports and travel. Travel, you will learn so much.
That's great. So up next, stick with us, we've got Jen Cavacci to rev it up on motorcycles. Stay with us at 411.
Yeah, you can look at camera 2, and then I'll look at you. And that's
10,
what you do.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5.